Okay. I know you probably asked some questions about last week's game, but nothing's, really changed since my feeling on Saturday. It was embarrassment. We got physically whipped, got out-coached, got outplayed. Looked at the tape, addressed some issues, and then moved forward, to our next game, a conference game on the road, a rivalry game against Wyoming. Wyoming is a really outstanding football team. Greg Bowl has done an awesome job there. Those guys play physical, they play tough, they take care of the football, and find ways to win. Can't say enough about their quarterback, Allen. He makes them go. A lot of it's going to be said about, well, he doesn't have the stats this year. He doesn't, he hasn't done this, hasn't done that. But this kid's 6'5", 240-plus pounds. He is about impossible to tackle. He makes plays after plays with his legs and his arm. When he scrambles to throw and throw the ball downfield. And I'm not talking about in the flat. I'm talking about deep shots, 40, 45-plus ropes to backside receivers. Countless times over and over the last 2 years, this guy has made plays to win ball games. Truly impressive kid. Defensively, and they've taken care of the ball. I know he's had some interceptions, but defensively, this is a sound defense that has a nose for the football. They're number one turnover margin in the country. Their safety, who I've talked about the last 2 years, Andrew, has a nose for the football. He's an instinctive player. If you just look at statistics in conference play, conference games, he's a leading tackler in the secondary. He's the leading guy for interceptions. I believe he has 4. Linebacker Logan Wilson is the 4th leading tackler in conference play. Granderson, number 91, is the leading guy for tackles for loss. He's the leading guy for sacks. He's the leading guy for tackles, period, for our defensive linemen. They do an outstanding job. Number 5 in the country in pass defense, top 25 in every category defensively. So their defense does a great job of keeping them in ball games, and they've played better the last couple of weeks offensively. I think they're starting to get their groove. It's going to be a huge test for our football team. We're going to have to play really, really well to win this ball game, and if we're feeling sorry for ourselves of what happened last week, then it could be a long day in Laramie.
Mike, just as far as what you guys need to do defensively, obviously you're not facing the option again, but are there some things that came out in that game that really have to be fixed schematically?
We got to get off blocks. We do a poor job of getting off blocks. I did not believe our effort to the ball was there, which an option team can do that to you because you're playing assignments. And a lot of times you're locked in on your assignment and one guy's got to get off a block or one guy's got the quarterback. But we don't have enough hats to the football. You look at this football team defensively, and the reason they're leading the country in turnovers is because they get to the football. They have multiple hats to the football. They get off blocks. We're going to have to get off blocks. We're going to have to contain this quarterback when we pressure. If we run a 4-man pressure, we can't let him get out. I think the number one thing is going to be get off blocks, play with our hat in hands, play football. That's fundamental football. That hadn't changed since, as long as Colorado State's been playing football. You got to get off blocks. You got to run the football. You got to play with energy on defense.
You mentioned those basics after the game on Saturday. You also mentioned a lot of missed tackles. Another fundamental thing. How many missed tackles did you guys actually come up with watching film?
It was in the high 30s probably. I don't know the exact number, to be honest. And it was just poor leverage. Overrunning things, not playing inside out on guys, not being in a football position, playing out of control, and then not getting enough hats to the party. A lot of times missed tackles might not be as glaring if you've got more pursuit there that's coming when a guy cuts back on you to make the tackle. But, to me, it's football position, it's the proper leverage, knowing where your help was, and we did a poor job of that.
So is that the most disappointing thing? These are fundamental things midway through the season. You would have figured.
Yeah, it's a different type of offense when you play Air Force. But, the disappointing thing to me was I believe they had 75 play drive, 75 again maybe, or 72, and then a 75, and then a 98. Our goal going into the game was make this team go the distance, make them hopefully make a mistake, but we didn't make them make a mistake by our play. The one time that they turned the ball over is because on 2nd and 8, the running back slips down and puts them in a 3rd and long. So we didn't do enough to dictate how they play. We were in react mode all day, and we got what we got in the ball game. So that was you want to make them grind it out. Hopefully they'll make a mistake, and they played. Hats off to them again. They played flawlessly. They executed at an extremely high level offensively, but you would hope that you could make something happen during a ball game to get somebody behind the chains without their running back falling down.
How concerning is it for you that this kind of 3 weeks in a row where you've talked about, missed assignments and missed tackles, that type of stuff defensively, where offenses are kind of dictating the play against you guys rather than
we're in react mode. We're not being aggressive. The play is becoming dictated to us. It's like we're on our heels, and that's on me. We got to get a plan this week where we attack. We attack. We don't need to sit back and react. We're not good enough to sit back and react. We need to attack.
Mike, you mentioned Wyoming's propensity for takeaways. How can you use your guys' mistakes with the turnovers last week going forward to make sure that doesn't happen this week?
Well, I say it all the time. You can't turn a bad play into the catastrophe. We missed a block on the first turnover that turned into be a interception for a touchdown, and had the play we wanted, had the coverage we wanted, but we got whipped. We got whipped up front, and that's where a senior quarterback has got to take a sack. Sometimes you got to take a sack and reserve the right, to play the next play or punt. And sometimes when you feel like every play is going to be the difference in the game. If we don't, we talked about maximizing our possessions and scoring. It's almost we put too much pressure on ourselves to make that play when you've got to trust. You got to trust that sometimes you got to punt. It's like they're in the 4th quarter with, down 10. I'm like, we got to punt. We got to try to get a stop right here when we pin them inside the 10. We didn't do it, but if we did, that, we might have had a chance to win the ball game. Same thing with Nick there. Sometimes guys are going to make plays and force the hand, and then you've got to live the play the next down. Same thing on the 2nd and long after the penalty that wiped out the Dawkins touchdown. Play the coverage, a 2-man coverage. They're covered. Throw the ball away or get up and run. And you kids trying to make a play, that happens. But you got to learn from that the possession of the ball is more important than forcing things sometimes.
And with the running backs only having one lost fumble this year, is that something that you're obviously really proud of?
Well, I think our guys have done a really good job of ball security. Coach Applewhite does a great job of that. And quite frankly, that's why those 2 guys play the most and play in the majority of the time because they take care of the football. We have some fumbling issues in practice with our backup running backs, and they're not going to see the field. And Nick's been really, really good. I mean, in conference play, has 14 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. And 2 of the one Saturday were just, one was we got whipped and we got to take a sack, and the other one was just trying to force it into coverage instead of let's get up in the pocket and play the next down, have a shot at 3rd down, or kick a field goal. Which and then the last one. I thought he made it great. They brought a house blitz. He had to throw the ball early. The ball was, a fraction behind, but their guy just had stronger hands than our guy. I thought he made the right decision there. That's one of those fluky interceptions. But I have been pleased with him taking care of the ball. It was just magnified in this last ball game because of their execution on offense, and it was – 4 plays in that ball game. It's the turnover, the pick 6 when we should have took a sack. It's the holding call that wipes away the touchdown. The next play, we force it into coverage. And then it's the 3rd and 4 right at the start of the 4th quarter when we don't block the defensive end on a sprint out. When we got what we want in the flat, we got the guy wide open. I mean, those 4 plays killed drives when we were executing at a high level too. But give Air Force credit. They forced the issue. They brought pressure. They made us uncomfortable and caused us to make a couple bad decisions offensively that were the difference in the ball game.
Mike, is one of the problems when you're defending against an option is that you can't do as many stunts and blitzes, things like that? Do you have to go more base defense and rely more on guys to make the right reads?
Well, that's one of the philosophies. There are other people do different things. That was our philosophy, and they out executed us by assignments and tech blocking and fitting up on the right guys.
You touched on this a little bit, but you watch Josh Allen play, and yes, his numbers might be down, but week after week you see him escape sacks that just seem to be guarantees, or then he'll just come up with an amazing throw. What about his game impresses you most when you watch him?
Well, the thing that impresses me, obviously the physically, how gifted he is, his arm strength, his toughness impresses me. You know, they lost Brian Hill, they lost Gentry at receiver, lost the offensive lineman that was very good, so they lost some pieces around him. And a lot's on this kid's shoulders. And he keeps coming out, you know, every series with the moxie and the confidence that I'm going to put this team on my back offensively, and has made plays for them to win ball games. And that mental toughness, when it's easy for a kid who has gotten a lot of accolades preseason to sometimes start to point finger or body language get down. I mean, you see him get frustrated, but it's like, I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to make, this guy's not going to tackle me. I'm going to find a way to get this ball off. I'm going to make a play for us to score enough points to win the ball game. And that right there is impressive to me. You know, because I mean, here's a young kid. It's, you know, I'm going to be the first pick in the draft. I'm going to get, you know, and then things aren't going well, you know. But, I mean, this guy's playing. He's got his team in position, you know, where they've still got a chance at a conference title. And, you know, he's playing well, in my opinion. The numbers might not, but his ability to make plays, I mean, it's second to none in this league. The reason they were in their championship game last year is a lot to do for him. The plays that he made, scrambling, the plays that he made, throwing the ball downfield. I've never seen a guy throw as many on nakeds or bootlegs to the backside guy. That's a lot of times not even in a progression for a guy. And he's got the arm strength to make that throw, and he's got the physical strength to hold off guys with one hand, right, and still make the throw back across the field. It's the guy's. I mean, he's a physical specimen, really.
So in that regard, your defense has to prepare as much for the potential of what he can do as the production that he's shown.
Yeah, I mean, there's enough plays on there that we ought to be, you know, worried of what he can do with his arm strength. And if we don't get any, I mean, I know he's hard to tackle, and he throws people down like they're like my son Jake, like we're playing in the backyard, just throws them down, kind of like Drew, my big son, my 13-year-old, who's like 6'2", you know, 210 pounds, and just playing with Jake just throws him down. It's like a big boy playing with little kids out there. But if we don't get people there to harass him and make him uncomfortable, and I mean, coverage won't hold up on this guy. We've got to get pressure. We've got to get in his face. We've got to make him move his feet. You know, the scary part is he can still make so many unbelievable throws off balance. You know, a lot of times guys are good when you drop back and everything's clean around them. They take their rhythm. They throw the on-balance throw. You know, there's a lot of kids across the country that can do that. But the impressive thing with this kid, when stuff's going on around him, to make the off-balance throw, when his feet aren't perfectly set or if the timing of the route's off, he can still make the play. You know, it's scary, and then the scary part of it is when you look on the other side of the ball, this defense is playing as well as anybody in this conference. You know, hands down, they got players at all three levels. You know, with both safeties, I mentioned 28 Wingard all the time, but Epps is an unbelievable safety too, that has great range in the high hole. And then Wilson is physical, 46, kid from California. You know, he makes plays. He's playing with a cast on his hand, making plays right and left. And then the two defensive ends are nightmares, the effort that they play with. But you got a back end, you got a middle end, and you got the front line that lead the league in all categories. You know, so it's going to be tough sledding on the other side of the ball. So we got to try to keep this guy in check, Allen in check, and not give up any explosive plays.
Not to harp on it, but obviously middle season you can't get bigger, stronger. What can you do to improve the getting off blocks, making tackles when you're there, that type of
Well,
stuff?
that's a good question. It's a really good question, and it's something that what we can do right now, but what we're looking to in the future is because our calendar here, school calendar is a little bit different. We start school so late, after Martin Luther King in January, then we get out a little bit early. There's a huge break. There's a lot of off time for our kids, and we're actually going to change because this is a concern of mine. We're going to change when we do spring ball. We're going to do it right after signing day and get that thing done so we can have a longer lifting cycle for our guys and try to get a little bit stronger, at the point of attack. Obviously through recruiting you can do that, but at the end of the day, you got to develop these guys, and I feel like, we're missing some time in strength training in the off season because of spring practice runs, and then when they get out, it's a few weeks before they're out. It's so much generated. We spread out spring ball so much. I'm going to compact it a little bit and try to make some gains in the weight room with strength. Right now, it's fundamentals. It's playing with your hands. It's using, hear people say hat and hands all the time, but it's using your hands and disengaging, playing the proper leverage when you how to play a cut block. The cut block was getting us the other day, but it's, getting your hands down. It's the fundamentals of doing that. It's not necessarily beating everybody physically sometimes. It's the fundamentals of playing with your hands. We've got to get better at playing with our hands and getting off blocks.
Mike,
And that's something you teach. A lot of guys don't know that coming in. That's something you got to teach, and we got to get better at it.
there's just you've got the whole lot of pageantry with this game, with the boot run, the relay, and all that. What's your take on that? Just now that you've been a part of it for a couple of years, and this is going to be the first year it's starting here in this building.
Right. I think it's awesome. Anytime you're involved with tradition, and your school's part of that, I think there's pride, there's tradition. That's one of the reasons I'm here, is because there is tradition at this school. And part of that tradition is the rivalry with Wyoming. There's a lot of great storied games, a lot of hatred between the two teams. Wyoming doesn't like Colorado State and vice versa. I think there's a mutual respect between Coach Bowl and us of how our teams play. But just that day, of our ROTC running the ball there and meeting on the border and you get the feeling that this game's special. And, we're going to be, we got to be ready to play. And, they're going to be ready to play like they were the first 2 years that we played. Everything kind of just went our way year one. They turned it over a few times, and, we kind of controlled the ball. Year two kind of started out good for us, and everything went their way. We turned it over, and they got out front and were able to run the ball and secure the lead. So I expect it to be another physical football game. It's going to come down to taking care of the ball. I think that's been the difference in the first two games. It's usually the difference in every game. Both teams take care of the ball. It's, who can make that, make those couple plays that are going to be the difference.
Mike, what are the updates on BC and Dietrich?
BC has actually got a good report from our trainer today, Tony Hill. Said he was running and cutting, and of course I said, was he going to be able to play? Right now it's a no, but it is only Monday, so I feel better about him. We'll see, at the end of the week. So there might be an outside shot that he's ready to play. I know he's been living in the training room. But ultimately it's going to be his safety. Can he go out there and do the things he needs to do at a receiver and function at full speed where we don't put him at risk? But I'm excited about the update that I got about him this morning. Dietrich, I think, was better this week. Did play a little bit. We actually put him back at kickoff return. He felt good during the game. As the game went on, he started to get a little sore. I think a lot of just standing over there. Not on the field and not moving his shoulder around a little bit. So I think, he feels better Sunday, better yesterday than he did the week before. And I know he didn't play, but still, I feel good that he'll be, he won't be questionable going into this week. Right now it's still a wait and see, but, it's only Monday, so there's a lot of time between now and Saturday.
What struck you about Jordan Fogel when he came here and visited you? He was looking for a school where he could continue his education and play, but what struck you about him and what he was looking for, I guess?
Well, he was serious about, finding the right fit academically and athletically. So, a lot of times when you talk to guys that are transfer guys, whether it's junior college or graduate, sometimes it's finding the right fit where I can come in and play. And, which is important to all kids, a little bit more important to graduate kids and junior college kids because their time clock is shorter. But it never wavered for him, the seriousness of getting a graduate degree and having a chance to play on a team and be successful. So how mature he was as a young man. And here's a young man that went to junior college and went to a Power 5 school. This has been his third school. And that's a little bit sometimes rare when guys have changed schools, that the maturity's there, and he's talking about the things that he was talking about. And his mother was important in his life. His mother came on the trip, and it was, it wasn't just about him. It was about the decision that for him to go to school and play ball, and where his mother's input. So, and it's as important to me when I recruit a young man, not necessarily a graduate kid or a junior college kid, is how they treat how they treat the loved ones, that they say that's important to them. They don't show respect to their mother or their father or their grandmother, or if everything's about them, usually that's the wrong kid and should be a red flag. But it was important to him, and I think we obviously have, we had the graduate program for him that he felt good about going in. We felt like we had a great need at safety, what was going on with our other safety at that time, and having a chance to come in. But, it wasn't just, hey, he pros and cons of everywhere he looked. He was looking for the right fit, and I can't say enough about being able to come in, earn a starting job, and fit in with your teammates. It shows you what kind of person he is. He's one of the guys I went and found after the ball game, and I said, I know it's your first year, but I need your leadership, moving forward this week. And I think we'll have no problem getting it from him, and I think we'll have no problem from our team responding, because they know what kind of person he is. They know how he works, on and off the field. And, some people, you can say, hey, I'm gonna make this water bottle a leader, I'm gonna make this foot. If they don't have it in them, you can't just assign who the leaders are going to be. It happens, and he's a leader of our football team. The type of person he is, the way he carries himself.
You have a couple local walk-ons playing fullback for you. Nate Reichen seems like he's developed to a point where he's helping you in a lot of ways, and then you said Dunkelman was actually suited up for the game. How is their progress working, and how are they helping you?
Well, I mean, I can't say enough about Nate Reichen, the improvement that he's made at the fullback position. Prentice is a solid fullback for us, but Nate is a very capable backup, a guy that, when we first got here, he was not very good on contact. He wasn't scared, just the fundamentals of playing that position. A lot of times it's near foot, near shoulder when you're making contact, so you've got your power base, and he would never be in sync. And his improvement, his change in his body, his attention to the detail that Coach Applewhite coaches at that position, he's become a very good player for us. Now he just plays in our goal line short yardage packages, does a great job. He's a great teammate. He's unselfish, which a fullback needs to be. I think he's Dawkins' best friend. Him and Dawkins are buddies, but he's all in, and he's Colorado State. So I'm pleased to have him. Dunkelman is a guy that we obviously love watching him in high school. He was a guy that did it all for his high school football team. He doesn't look like it, but he has got a lot of athletic ability. He was a great linebacker for them. He was a great running back. Whenever he touched the ball, he made things happen for his high school football team. Now, he's changed his body a little bit. He does an excellent job on special teams, scout work for us, excellent job on the defensive field when he's working scouts. He's a guy that is I think will make an impact for us either at fullback or on special teams, starting next year.
Along those lines, another local guy that's probably played a little bit more maybe going into this year than maybe you would have thought going in, Max McDonald. What is it he's done that you like that keeps him on the field so much?
Well, he's constantly improved as a linebacker. Max is not afraid. Max does have good speed, and he's consistent. He does what coach asks him to do within that scheme. He fits his gap he's supposed to fit, and the more he's gotten more reps at practice, I think he's improved, and his play on the field has improved. He was a little bit limited in this role. He didn't get a lot of practice, and that hurt us a little bit last week that Max was out. Max was out and Jamal was out. But again, that's not an excuse. We got to out-execute him. But he's a guy that I think will continue to be a steady player for us. He needs to continue to get better on contact, using his hat and his hands. But he does have good speed. He's not afraid. And the more he's played, the more productive he's been.
Is he one that sometimes maybe the speed's almost a little deceptive? I know in high school people would say he's not super fast, but he's able to read things and trigger so quickly that it sort of makes up for a little bit of it. Do you see some of that?
I think he's got good speed for the linebacker position. I think it's, people stereotyping people. I think he's got a chance to be a good linebacker for us. Always felt good about it was his instincts a little bit. He's talked about his instincts, but it was kind of, a lot of times when you install a defense and you see, hey, I've got this pass responsibility, or I'm, kind of where the stuff is drawn, he was doing more of that his first couple of years. It might be a run right at him, and he's playing his curl flat, or he's playing his hook, his pass responsibility, instead of seeing and triggering and playing his run responsibility. So I think he's become more comfortable, playing within the scheme instead of just trying to, I got this on pass, I got this gap. Now I think he's seeing things better, which has helped make him more productive.